Next curve.
Hey everyone, welcome to Next Curve's Rethink webcast and our analyst corner here. And I'm Leonard Lee, executive analyst at Next Curve. And I want to welcome a very good friend of mine, Prakash Sangam of Tantra, Analyst, who's going to be joining me to talk about and provide a recap of Silverlinings. I think it was called the Cloud Executive Summit 2023, which took place in Sonoma from December 6th to the 7th. So, hey, Prakash, how's it going?
Pretty good. Happy New Year, Leonard.
Happy New Year. Yeah, good to have you back on. So,
Sure.
what are you looking forward to some insanity this year? Some more
Always.
great research from and insights from Tantra Analyst?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we are kicking off with CES, then quickly followed by Mobile World Congress. So, I mean, being in tech, I think the biggest disadvantage is CES. I mean, you can't just enjoy the holidays, right? CES is always in the back of your mind. So,
Yeah, we're always on it. We're always on it. We always have to be on the ball. And, like you said, tech doesn't, it doesn't stop. It's a constant thing. So, but hey, you and I, we attended this event, which was probably in one of the best venues or locations you can imagine, right? Especially if you're a wine lover, Sonoma. And it was great to have an opportunity to actually host panels together at an event. I don't think we've had a chance to do that, right? And
I don't think I don't think we ever together did host panels on any events before.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I think, and the event itself was pretty nice, very well organized, I would say. It was very focused with invited folks, and it was away from the hustle bustle of the Bay Area, so people are more focused on what they're doing rather than let me finish this meeting and jump on to the next one. So I think it was pretty well, and it went very well as well, and the content was good. There were good speakers.
Yeah,
and since it was small and closed event, you could have a lot of one-on-one conversations rather than what's just happening on the stage.
Yeah, and I think overall, I think there was about 80 folks in attendance. Said very focused agenda, very engaging agenda.
Yeah.
And the overall feedback from the participants, the folks who attended, was very high. I was actually quite impressed. But so for the folks who don't know what this summit was about, it was really a program, an executive program to bring folks together from the industry, both from a vendor and a end user perspective, to talk about some of the key topics around cloud. And there was a lot of obviously talk about AI, because that's
of course.
the topic du jour of the year or the years. And then a lot of talk about multi-cloud. I don't know, did you pick up on anything else that was really prominent in terms of the discussions that were had?
Yeah, so one thing is it was an inaugural event. So the first time Silverlinings and under the umbrella of Fierce Wireless doing this. So I hope they continue. I think I'm sure they would be encouraged by the response they got, right? And also it was kind of, in my view, symptomatic or emblematic, what you want to call it, of the telecom industry, right? It was its own industry. It's with its own ecosystem and so on, but it now with the cloudification, it is opening up. So a lot of cloud talk and enough action as well. And this was kind of that event. It still had the tinge of telecom to it. A lot of the folks speaking there, although they're talking about cloud, but they had telecom background. So there was this overarching telecom influence or a flavor to it, but
Yeah.
still it was very good cloud discussion, not about radios and
Yeah,
5G.
yeah, right.
Right? Yeah.
Topics like cloud native, especially as it pertains to mobile networks,
Hmm.
in general, I think. Uh,
Yeah.
Security, I think there was a little bit of talk about that.
Yeah.
Cloud,
Not enough. Not enough.
never
Uh,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. Did we really? Was there really a lot of talk about security? I think it was. There was a lot of, I think, concerns about trust.
Correct.
I don't think there was too much of a leaning toward privacy, if I recall. But
Yeah.
definitely a lot of excitement around generative AI. I mean, I think that was pretty
Hmm.
predictable,
Yeah.
especially as it pertains to how the cloud would intersect and support these new generative AI applications and workloads and architectures. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
the thing that
Multi-cloud, as you mentioned, was a major topic as well. I
yeah,
mean, yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I was just
The
you
first
read.
panel itself was multi-cloud. Yeah.
Yeah, and then under sort of that undercurrent theme um, was this whole topic of AWS likes to call it cost optimization,
Hmm.
but it's also in certain circles referred to as repatriation, right? Because it really
Hmm.
is about rationalizing your cloud cost, and some of
Good.
what's involved with that is
Yeah.
maybe repatriating some of the workloads. Looking at what revisiting what your criteria was for putting and placing things in the cloud, and then with these new tools, especially with the advent or at least the awareness of what it's called FinOps or financial
Hmm.
ops around
Yeah.
cloud. Having this visibility to what your cost really is and being able to do more of a comparative assessment or benchmarking against on-premise options, right? Or
Hmm.
call it, hybrid cloud-ish kind of options. I thought that was like a kind of a battleground, like that big battlefield that a lot of folks were engaging in many of the discussions.
Hmm. Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
thought?
I mean, correct. I think, and also the cloud discussion was not just general, specific to kind of telecom kind of model and deployment, IoT, under that umbrella as well. So it was that which I think made sense because a lot of the attendees were from that background too.
Yeah, yeah,
And there was discussion on security, as you mentioned. And I mean, there was, I think, on a specific panel where it was mentioned at many other panels too. I mean, security is such a subject. I mean, it's on its own, it's huge, but everybody thinks instead of having a separate section, or rather, I would have distributed across all of them, and sometimes it doesn't get the importance it needs. And I moderated a panel on open source in cloud and in the future. That was interesting. I think we had like 4 or 5 panelists on it.
yeah.
Interesting viewpoint there as well. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that was actually a really good panel discussion. I thought one of the themes that was expounded on quite a bit
Mhm.
broadly was this idea of being accidentally multi-cloud. The mindset that a lot of companies adopted
Mhm.
with the advent of cloud computing was that everything is going to go into the cloud, whatever that means. But for the most part, it meant public cloud, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So EAS, PaaS, what have you, and
Yeah.
but cloud has been evolving since its inception.
Yeah.
It's so different from even 2, 3 years ago, and
Mhm.
especially as you see the shift toward AI workloads, or what some folks are calling cloud 2.0, which I don't really buy into. That the landscape and the nature of what cloud is has shifted. What may have not shifted as much and as rapidly is how people perceive cloud and what it
Mm-hmm.
actually
Yeah.
ends up meaning today in terms of the realities, whether it's from a capability set, its function, or position within an IT portfolio, or from a financial or economics perspective. These things are constantly shifting, and so
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting to hear now as these hybrid and multi-cloud conversations coming about, people talking about a lot of these organizations being accidentally multi-cloud. Well, it's like, well, sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it happens accidentally, but I think it is inevitable, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it is.
exactly.
Yeah, if you look at the diversity of the workloads enterprises have, and the relationships they develop with other customers, big customers or vendors and such, it is almost impossible to have a uniform and single cloud. It will be multi-cloud in my view at some point of time, even if they are not there accidentally or otherwise. Sometimes it could be necessity, sometimes it could be by design, sometimes it could be accidental, but
Sure. Yeah.
eventuality is it will be multi-cloud. And I think there was some robust discussion on how to manage it, challenges and opportunities, and so on as well, right? I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of the instances are different. And also I think the idea that, oh, with cloud native everything is open, and you develop once you can use everywhere, the whole thing. When you go to multi-cloud, although it seems it's all open cloud when it's cloud native, but it is not, right? Everybody has their own instances. You still have to do a lot of customization,
Yeah.
and a cloud provider doesn't make it easy to move from one to other. I mean,
Right.
no,
I mean,
moving from another is a major challenge as well. So it's interesting. That's what I kind of was glad that people brought up. Okay, we talk about, oh, cloud is huge, making cloud makes everything portable, this and that. But here, when you go to the next step of multi-cloud, you still have the same challenge of portability. I mean,
oh yeah,
each
yeah,
cloud
yeah.
providers have their own large ecosystem, but you still have the same stickiness or lock-in, vendor lock-in when you go
Well,
to
yeah.
multi-cloud, right?
Exactly. I mean, they're, each of the hyperscalers and major cloud players are creating their own walled gardens.
Yeah, true,
So,
true.
even though there's, the term walled garden is oftentimes looked at negatively, and somehow cloud has been associated with open. That's not the
Yeah, yeah,
Man, that's the ironic thing about the challenge that the multi-cloud situation poses to organization. And so,
yeah.
yeah, there were a lot of folks who were talking down multi-cloud and saying that this is not the optimal strategy, and advocating, single vendor or single sourcing cloud services, which I thought was interesting, right? But one of the things that could reinforce that type of thinking, or at least justify some of that thinking, is you look at the AI agenda for a lot of organizations. Uh,
Mhm.
Having these silos, having the overhead of having to integrate data, or being able to access data or migrate data across a portfolio of cloud environments or vendor environments, that that might work against a lot of the AI agendas that organizations are going to be looking at as they look at some of these more universal applications of AI within their organization, either for internal use or for enabling their businesses. So I think there were some good arguments that were made. I mean, things that I didn't really, I didn't necessarily espouse before I went into the event. But there was a lot of great debate, but it was weird that things kind of settled into kind of in a bit of an anti-multi-cloud, resolution there. Even though I don't think the matter is resolved, in terms of the debate, it seemed to have been resolved in that direction.
Yeah, I think, I mean, and also, in my view, the single cloud versus multi cloud, hey, it's a multifaceted discussion, right? It depends on the type of the company that is looking to use the cloud, type of workload, and such. For example, smaller companies, I mean, it may make financial sense and logistical sense to have a single vendor. But if you're a large enterprise, I mean, I think most of them agreed that whether you want it or not, it is going to be reality. If it's not now, very soon, right? So, and I think you pick up a good point in terms of how AI workloads evolve. Ultimately, AI will be more focused, right? I mean, of course, there will be general model, generic databases, and so on. But I think the real value comes in when you have specific workloads, specific models for specific verticals, industries, and so on, right? That's where, I mean, a lot of the things that you're talking about, like the hallucination and inaccuracies, will kind of minimize. Ultimately, I think that will be a lot of value from AI itself. Yeah. That you have a specific models optimized for specific industries, specific use cases, and so on. Then whether you are, I mean, cloud is a big ocean that you're trying to define or boil, if you will. But when it comes to those specific things, then you're not boiling the whole ocean. Then even then, whether it will be multi-cloud or one hyperscaler cloud provider have better or have expertise, models, data sets, and so on one specific vertical versus other, whether they want to excel in every aspect of it or focus on specific verticals and industries, that'll be interesting to see. Then we might visit this single versus multi-cloud as well. I mean, and specific use cases, single cloud, if it is best at whatever it is doing, might be worthwhile to look at, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just made the whole consideration so much more complicated, but you're putting a spotlight on a reality. I'm with you. I think a lot of the valuable AI applications of any variety, and it's been proven actually already. It's not even a hypothesis. It's just the way it is, much more specific, finely tuned, very specific in most instances. And we'll even see that with generative AI. In fact, we've seen that trend today in any case. I guess the big challenge though is in regards to hallucinations and the actual relevance and efficacy of these generative AI applications. The comprehensiveness of data is important as well, right? So when there's holes in data, you have a higher likelihood that the actual model will hallucinate or make something up. It's really difficult to determine that. But when you do have silos, you have a multi-cloud environment that adds those barriers to, let's say, access to data and visibility to data, right? Comprehensive data that could limit some of those specific models. So, I mean, so the bottom line is this: early days. It's a really, really challenging problem as we start to think about hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, and AI, especially these new generations that are aspiring to be more universal for the enterprise, or even more specific. There's, solution architects are going to have one heck of a time.
Job security.
I mean, I don't even know what a best practice would be. You know, it's going to be very specific for an enterprise, an environment, an infrastructure, a portfolio, you know?
Yeah, it's very early. I agree with you. I don't think anybody knows the best practice yet. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of, building the plane while you're learning to fly, right?
Yeah,
So that
exactly.
kind of it. I mean, it's at a very early stage. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
see. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
any final words before we sign off here?
Yeah, sure. So being from telecom, I couldn't stop myself from talking about. So I talked to a few folks on on the first day I think there was discussion on okay the 5G use cases, how cloud improves them and so on, and it's a lot of it was the same thing that we've been hearing about 5G for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Then I on a side conversation I talked to one of the hyperscalers. We have what is the progress, what is the hindrance, we keep talking about these things, it's only talk so far, hasn't been large scale deployments and so on. One thing I heard is basically a kind of message to the operators who are listening in. The message from the hyperscaler word is they think operators are very slow in adopting new approaches, new business and revenue models, which in a lot of these use cases require. And hyperscalers were not really getting the response they were hoping. So they are kind of, instead of working with the operators, moving to a smaller players who are more nimble, who are open to new ideas, and thinking of using 5G networks as again dumb pipes. So I think that was kind of alarming to hear from a prominent hyperscaler at the event. So that's the message if somebody wants to get from especially from the operator world from the event. So I thought I'll make that point, and indeed it was a great event, and it was great discussing this the event with you as well, and I hope to be on the event moderating a few more panels this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully it will be in Sonoma with some more easily accessible transportation, because it's not easy to get in and out of there, right?
I mean it's necessary evil, right? You want to get away, then you have to get away, and then logistics are a major issue.
A little feedback for the Silverlinings team for this year. But anyways, Prakash, thank you so much for jumping on. It's great having you again, and we'll have you on again undoubtedly. We'll at a minimum for MWC, right? And
indeed.
A lot more opportunities. But why don't you take a moment to share with our audience how they can get in touch with you and tap into and get into the flow of Tantra Analyst research.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again on the show. As you mentioned, a lot of my work is on our website, tantraanalyst.com, TANTRAANALYST.com. Just like Leonard, I also host a podcast on which I've had Leonard many times discussing similar things. I cover 5G, AI, connectivity, and now cloud as well. So I write for Forbes, have columns in many telecom publications. So it's always an interesting and conversation to have with Leonard. Not only on we always talk about these things not only on screen but off the screen all the time as well. So
all the time, and a lot more depth actually. And we're just capturing, or at least able to capture, a small fraction on these podcasts. But again, thank you, Prakash. Thanks to our audience, everyone, for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful 2024. Please subscribe to the Next Curve YouTube channel. The easiest thing is to subscribe to the Next Curve research portal and media center at www.next-curve.com. It's newly updated, so you should check it out. It's got a lot of cool stuff in there. And follow me, follow Next Curve, follow Tantra Analyst for a constant diet of the tech and industry insights that matter. And Prakash and I will continue to be doing these types of collaborations going forward. So be a part of the conversation. It's a good one. And so until next time, keep it real, everyone.
All right, bye bye.